and welcome to the Barrel House. I am your host, Joe Kane, and today is going to be a fun one. It's going to be a busy one. We've got a lot to talk about and some catching up to do, but first, I have to thank everybody who subscribes and supports the show over at patreon.com/barrelhouse. This show is 100% listener funded. That means that without you, I couldn't keep the lights on. I couldn't keep the bar stocked, and this would die quickly and with no ceremony. So I have to thank all of you over there, especially our Whiskey Legend tier patrons, Greg, Katie, Lauren, and Joe, who all throw in more than their fair share to keeping this going. You too can help keep the show running by visiting patreon.com/barrelhouse and choosing any tier, any reward, whatever you like. It all helps and it's all appreciated. For like $1 a month, for like less than you spend on one coffee, you can help keep this show just cruising. So please consider it, or share the show, subscribe, rate, review, all those things. Whatever you can do, it always helps. Now on to the announcements. First, I missed an episode, sort of. I'm a week late on a bi-weekly show. I don't know if that's really missing an episode or just pushing back a week. I don't know. We'll see. I was on vacation, a well-needed vacation. I spent a lot of time sitting around a campfire with like whiskeys and cigars and family and friends, and it was really needed and really great. And I really appreciate all of your patience letting me screw off for a week, leave you all hanging. I brought up a bottle of Baker's that I came across, and Baker's is a at least 7-year product, but they have the actual label on the age on the label. And I managed to nab a 9-year one. It was very good. And a bottle of Scarabus, or what's left of a bottle of Scarabus. I'm gonna do an episode on that whiskey, Scarabus. I talked about it on a live stream. I just need to find it because it's becoming very popular, and we'll discuss why when that time comes. But I brought those bottles up, really enjoyed them, drank more beer than I usually do, ate more crap than I usually do, and I feel considerably better than I usually do now. So it was really well needed. Second, you may have heard me say we got a couple of whiskeys to talk about. I'm gonna mess with the episode structure a little bit. I had spent some time thinking while I was on vacation, and I think instead of releasing one episode every other week with one review, and the show being very, very short and very, very to the point and then being gone, I'm going to start doing like some slight meddling with the format. Nothing crazy, don't worry. It's not going to be a totally different show. Not really. But I'm probably going to do like today, I've got 2 whiskeys from the same company. We're going to talk about both of them. I'm going to kind of focus my review on one, and the other one's going to kind of be more of a comparison point, but neither one of them's had an episode, so they'll both get a little bit of talking about. And I'm going to do that for one episode a month. Basically going to still be reviews, but it might be a couple whiskeys, it might be a comparison, something like that. And then for the second episode, I'm going to do a little more free format. Maybe have a guest on to talk about how they feel about certain whiskeys or what their whiskey experience is like. Could even be you, especially if you're a patron. Keep your eyes out. I'm going to be sending out some messages, I think. Could also be like lists like top 5 favorite bourbons or whatever. We'll see what it comes out to be. I'm probably not going to shoot for anything quite that clickbaity, but it's going to give me some freedom to kind of not just do this only, give you some variety in the show. The other thing is I am going to adjust the structure of the live streams. They're going to be kind of kept to about an hour, maybe a little bit more. I'm going to try to get more guests and less solo, but even the solo ones are going to be kind of on subject, on topic. They're going to be a little more focused. They'll still be silly. They'll still be kind of free form and a little wild, but they're going to be a little more focused. And I'm going to be cutting the audio out afterwards and releasing the editing a little, cleaning it up a little bit, and then releasing the live stream audio as podcast episodes as well. So there'll be more stuff in your feed that will not change like what you get. So if you decide you really like the live streams, you can listen to them, or you can subscribe on the YouTube channel at barrelhousepocast.com/live and watch them live or watch the VODs. If you decide it's not your thing, you can always skip those episodes too, but I've gotten a couple people who've asked where if they could listen to them, whatever, so I think I'm going to try fitting those in as episodes on the podcast feed as well as on YouTube and stuff. The other thing with episode structure and stuff, not this episode, probably not the next couple episodes as I set up the logistical aspects of this, but I believe my intention at this point is to, before the end of the summer, is to start releasing these as videos as well as podcast episodes, these main shows on YouTube as well. They might be Patreon exclusives. I'm not sure on all that, but if you have any input into what the video formats would be like, what you'd like to see in a video, do you want to just see me stand here talking? Do you want some B-roll? Like, what would you like in a video version of this podcast? Let me know. That's a work in progress that is 100% in line for the near future. I promise I'm almost done. I'm almost done with all these announcements. I told you, I went on vacation. I did all this thinking, so all this stuff happened. This week's live stream, as you are listening to this episode, will be the 13th, 15th, 13th? The 13th. We'll have a special guest, so look forward to that. I can't wait for you all to meet her and see what that live stream looks like. And that will be the first one that goes out on the podcast feed. So I hope it's good. I hope I do a good job with that. And the last thing, today's episode is a sponsored episode. Now, what is a sponsored episode, you may ask? That is some fancy stuff I just came up with because we had a listener, Karen, reach out and supply an entire bottle for review. So, as I mulled over how to approach that, I decided I would make these sponsored episodes, and there will be a thanks Karen in the title of this. And if you want to sponsor an episode, you can reach out to me. I do not expect it. I do not ask for it. That's like above and beyond. I'm very pleased to do this, but I wanted to make sure that since it did happen once, if it happens again, I had something in place, and this is what I decided on. It will be a sponsored episode. You'll be in the show notes, you'll be in the title, and you will get all these shout outs during the episode. So thank you very much. And now, what whiskey is sponsored? So we have the Scotch Malt Whiskey Society Smoky Maritime Hit. That is the provided bottle. Now that is the small batch release that the Scotch Malt Whiskey Society put together for the Islay Festival this year, the Islay celebration. They do a celebration for Scotland. Scotch Whiskey does a celebration for each region every summer. There's an Islay Festival and a Speyside Festival and a Campbelltown Festival, and this Islay Festival whiskey release is a limited run. All of Scotch Malt Whiskey Society stuff is limited run. If you don't know who they are, what they do, they're an independent bottler. They go to whiskey distilleries all over the world and they acquire single barrels, give them a fun name, bottle them. They're very carefully selected and maybe some fun art, a very nice bottle, and they release them. And you have to be a member of the group, the club, in order to buy anything from them. So it sounds very exclusive. It's not crazy. We'll talk about them at the end of the episode as far as value proposition. Since there's two whiskeys here and they are very different and you cannot any longer buy them. That's one of the things with Scotch Malt Whiskey Society. They update their inventory every month with the barrel that they're releasing, and it is usually gone at the end of the month. So these are not like ones I can tell you to go buy this. So what I'm going to kind of discuss the value prop of the club membership as a whole at the end of this. And this is not sponsored. This is my own money. Well, this is not sponsored by them. Karen provided this bottle. The second bottle I bought with my own money. But I'm gonna talk about what I think the value prop is on the Scotch Malt Whiskey Society. So the second bottle is the Glow of a Beach Bonfire. This one is a single barrel. It's not a small batch. This is a single barrel outturn. This is bottle 1 of 259, and this is a 9-year-old Islay, and it's a Colilla distillery barrel. You can tell because they have cask number codes on here. Like this one is 53.359. And you can look those up online to see what those codes mean. Smoky Maritime Hit is a small batch. I don't know anything about where it's sourced because it just says Distillery 10 small batch. I don't really know anything about what is in this bottle. If that means that it is like the distillery code, I don't know if the distillery code, we're gonna find out. I guess it could be, so distillery code 10 is Bunnahabhain. So if it is a Bunnahabhain small batch, possibly. I'm not 100% sure on that, but we're gonna compare these. And Kalila and Bunnahabhain are very different whiskeys. But I think we're gonna, this is gonna be a good exercise in A/B comparison, I think. So we're gonna get into the Smoky Maritime Hit. It's aged 7 years. All their stuff is cask strength. This is 58.6%. It is a very light color. That's fairly young for a Scotch. It's not like water light, but it is definitely straw. It's very sour and salty on the nose. Seaweed. There is a creamy aspect to it, and it's got a fruity, berry forward fruitiness going. The alcohol is very noticeable on the nose. It's probably because of the youth a little bit, but it does smell hot. There's a little bit of vanilla. I think that vanilla kind of rolls into the creaminess. There's a real salty CBD thing going. It's hard to get past. The berries are kind of like stewed berries, like I think I get like some blackberry or some raspberry. It's a little bit honey. It's a really nice nose, especially for a younger whiskey like this. It's a really nice nose. It's hot on the palate. It's hotter than you would expect. I think this probably is Bunnahabhain, to be honest with you. It's got that real sour maltiness that Bunnahabhain has, which I really like. It's salty. It's definitely Maritime. Maritime definitely works. I definitely get that like salty, briny, seawatery kind of taste out of this. It's very smoky. It's hard to tell, to be honest with you. The way that sour presents itself, it could almost not be smoky and all sour. Like, this is one of those ones that's confusing. Like, this might be more sour than smoky. It might not. You could convince me this wasn't smoky at all and it was all sour because of the space that lives in is thick. It's thick there. On the other side of that sour, though, it's got this really well balanced, delicate kind of berry, honeyed berry creaminess, very desserty thing, but it's also salty, and it kind of gives you this I don't want to call it a dance, but we'll call it a dance. Let's get fancy here and call it a dance. It gives you this like dance of flavors that's really pleasant. The finish is not as good as most of the Scotch Malt Whiskey Society offerings I've had. It's a really well evolved finish, but it's short. It's shorter than I'm used to. There's a little bit of caramel sweetness with the berries that rolls off quickly. There's not very much wood or oak at all anywhere in this. There's little hints of it here and there, but it's not dominant, which Scotch isn't always very oaky. The salt lingers for a lot longer than anything else. I think the salt kind of I mean, I guess they did call it Smoky Maritime Hit, but the salt really lingers the whole way through. I get it, it's Maritime, but the salt is the dominant flavor for almost all of this. It's really good, I really like it, but if you don't appreciate the briny side of peat, the briny type of peated whiskeys, you probably wouldn't like this. The Kalila one, the Glover Beach Bonfire, I'm going to compare these now. I'm not going to give the Kalila one a full review here. I talked about this on a first sip. If you want more like just about this, that first sip episode, that it would be good. Although that may be one of the ones that got eaten up by the YouTube fairy. So hopefully that's still up. Hopefully it's still available. If it's not, I'll see if I can dig it out and repost it. On the nose, this one is so much richer. Kalila has this like funky, proteiny, cheesy almost expression of peat that I really like. It reminds me of like a baby Octomore. And it really is like a funky cheese. There's a funky cheese going on the nose of this. It's got some, it's honey. There's a little bit of like a brown sugar, caramelized brown sugar thing going. It's very smoky, but like the dominant thing here is that funky blue cheese kind of note. This one is 9 years old and it is 59.4% alcohol. And it's not comparing apples to apples. It is a different distillery, different, I'm sure it's different malt, right? But the alcohol is way less noticeable on the nose, and I believe, if my memory serves me correctly, it's less noticeable on the palate, and it's a little bit higher proof, just a hair, but it goes to show you how much all those little things play in to how whiskey presents itself, how alcohol and flavors present themselves. This one is sweeter off the get. I don't think it's quite as smoky. It's close, but it doesn't hit me the same way. Admittedly, between the smoke and the sour notes out of that first one, out of the Smoky Maritime hit, that was a really dominant, like, wave of that intensity. This one's a little more subdued on that front, but it comes through with a whole lot of very savory, meaty flavors. It's got that proteiny, briskety thing going. It's got that funky cheese going. It is really easy on the palate too. This is a nice like combination of complex and drinkable, albeit if you are used to, at least sort of used to proofs up near this. And when I go back to the nose on the Smoky Maritime hit, it is so sour, and it is decidedly less sweet. But when you go back to the Smoky Maritime hit after having the glow of a beach bonfire, it doesn't taste sweet really at all. It's very sour, but it's still, I mean, it's very good. When I say sour, I don't mean sour in a negative way. I mean sour candies or foods that are more sour and savory. Trying to think of a good analog, but I can't off the top of my head. It's a good thing though. I liked it very much. The finish of the glow of a beach bonfire, I promise when we do these 2 or 3 whiskey episodes, there won't always be whiskeys with mouthful names like this. There'll be like regular whiskey names. These are just very intricate and fun names, and it's playing that way. Also, this will be easier to keep track of once the video versions are up, I imagine. The finish on the glow of beach bonfire, that's where I was, is largely the same as the palate. I don't really get any new flavors as it rolls into the finish, but it's a beautiful, balanced finish, and the flavors kind of drop off slowly one at a time. The smoke lingers, the smoke and funk, blue cheesy funk kind of linger the longest, but the sweetness and the caramels and the vanillas, and there's actually some oakiness in this, they kind of, they drop one at a time. The finish on this lasts probably 4 or 5 times longer than that of the first one. They're both delicious. They're both really great examples of what single barrel selections can be like, especially for an independent bottler that is not trying to pick something that represents, it's not like, I want to pick a really good barrel of Eagle Rare for this store pick so that it really exemplifies what Eagle Rare, it's not what they're doing. This company is picking a barrel of whiskey that they think is delicious. They're putting a name on it and selling it. They don't care who makes it. They just want that barrel to be really good. You get some interesting whiskeys, and it's really fun. However, what that means is it's expensive. So membership's about $100 a year just to be allowed to buy bottles from them. You can offset that a little bit. They do like membership packages that are like $180 and come with a bottle, or $200 and come with a bottle. And the whiskeys are between $100 and $400 for the most part. They do have some that branch up into the thousands, but we're not talking about those. We're not talking about the 40-year-old bottles or anything. The bulk of them are between $100 and $400. Both of these were less than $200, but you've got to factor in the $100 membership charge. So if you only buy 2 bottles a year, that's an extra $50 a bottle on top of their price tag, right? They do have other offerings. They do like virtual tastings and all of that stuff, but like some classes and some history and whatnot. But I don't take advantage of a lot of that, a little bit here and there. But you have to decide when you are looking at this, how much of that you're going to use, how much it's worth it to you to be allowed to go buy these like very unique experiences. I find some romance, here I go, I find some romance in the idea that I'm going to buy one of these bottles and taste it, and every time I have it, I know it's a finite experience. When that bottle is gone, that experience is gone forever, and I find myself savoring those experiences a lot more. It's one of the reasons why I like the Elijah Craig barrel proofs or some of the other single barrel proof selections so much, because a lot of times, you know, like the B520 Elijah Craig I like a lot, and it's gone forever now. I have basically none left, and I'm not going to get any more. So there's like some romance in that to me. It puts a little more heft in the experience. You might find that frustrating. I don't know. These are the kind of questions that are going to depend on how you approach whiskey for you. I think this Scotch Malt Whiskey Society is worth the money. I would probably buy 3-ish a year from them. It's tough to say. It's tough to go too far in either direction, right? I don't know that it's super worth it. I don't know that it's like a no-brainer. Especially if you're on the fence, it could be a tough one to justify, but I would say it's definitely not like a definite waste of money either, right? This is going to be kind of depend on where your preferences lie, what you value in your experiences. It's your money, right? For me, it's worth it. I'm glad I do it. That's going to cover it for these two. Thank you so much. If you have any input on the things I talked about at the top of the show, please feel free to hit me up. Let me know what you think. You can find me at barrelhousepocast.com. There's links to all my social media there at the top. Give me follows, throw me messages. You can email me, barrelhousepodcast@gmail.com. There's a contact form on there. You can also get to me at eargluemedia.com/Discord. That'll bring you to the Discord for all the Earglue Media shows, including the Film Appraisers, which is the other show I do. And I really hope you should go check that out. We even have a lot of fun over there, and I think if you like this, you would also like that. While you're on the line, let's try that again, right? While you're on there, jumping around, please, I can't talk today. Please feel free to go rate and review the show on iTunes. I really appreciate that. And as always, drink whiskey, be merry, and take care. The Barrel House is written, produced, and hosted by Joe Kane, and it's a proud member of the Earglue Media Network. Views and opinions expressed on this show belong only to the mouth they came out of. And as always, please remember to drink responsibly. Slanjava.